Well, hello again and welcome to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. I'm Tom. As always, I'm with my gorgeous, wonderful Halloween season love and wife and co-host Michelle.
Thank you, sweetie. Hi, everybody.
So good to have you with us. We are recording this episode on Sunday, October 25th, 2020. We are in Halloween week, and it finally here in Southern California feels a little bit like fall, if you believe it or not.
Yay. I know. It's been so hot for so long. And suddenly we've gotten some nice cooler weather. We even had a little bit of sprinkles this morning.
Yeah, a little drizzle. It's been cloudy a little bit. And, you know, some people might be saying, why are you cheering for that? But it's actually kind of nice after it's been in the 90s here for the last couple months, you know, up to pushing 100 some days. So it's nice to kind of have that balance off and actually feel a little bit like fall.
That's right.
Yeah.
Helps with the season.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventurespodcast.com. And while you're there,
why not sign up for our newsletter?
Please sign up for the newsletter. We have lots of stuff that we put out there for you every single week. Just a lot of Hyperion Adventures, fun, what we have going on with our episodes, our Disney dishes, recipe of the week, connections to our YouTube channel, and what new categories we have for our Hyperion Adventures Disney Hall of Fame as well.
That's right. And every once in a while, we throw in some special treats that nobody else hears about.
Yeah, last week, if you had signed up for the newsletter, you got that script that Walt Disney originally read for the Haunted Mansion at one point. Right. So we sent that out to everybody who subscribed to the newsletter. So sometimes we have fun stuff like that for you as well. So please sign up. We also love connecting with you on social media. We're as active as we possibly can be on social media. We're kind of busy regularly, especially Michelle, but we try and get out there and be as active as possible. And the fun thing about social media is you don't really know who you're going to get, but it's always a fun game to kind of figure out who is this person that's responding to me or putting out this tweet or this post on Facebook or whatever. Sometimes it's Michelle, sometimes it's me. You can probably figure it out, but it's a fun game to play just the same.
I know. We like to divide and conquer so we can be out there as much as possible. We really enjoy interacting with everybody.
Definitely. If you want to follow us on social media, we're on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We do have a YouTube channel. Hopefully you're watching some of these episodes on YouTube because we put in some extra content, and you know, sometimes you just want to see how lovely Michelle is. Again, just as I mentioned last week, my hair is growing and growing and growing as I've gone more than 3 months now without a haircut, so you can kind of track the progress of that as well. If you want to find us on YouTube, just do a search for Hyperion Adventures Podcast, hit subscribe, and then whenever we have a new video, you will be the first to know. And if you ever want to contact us, connect with us for any reason, you can always hit us up at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
Right. Feel free to give any input, any feedback, questions, anything. We want to be interactive with you, as we've said, and we want to make this the podcast that you enjoy coming to listen to.
Exactly. And the best way to know what you want is to connect with us and tell us, you know, I like that episode that you did. Oh, you know, I'd like some more of these types of episode, or suggest some topics for us, you know, that you might be interested in. We always are up for more topic suggestions for sure.
Exactly.
So speaking of topics, we, as I mentioned just a little bit ago, are in our period where we're going through nominations for our Hyperion Adventures Disney Hall of Fame. And we have a new category for you that's closing out today. So we do have our final nominations that will go on our final ballot coming up here in just a few weeks, near the end of November through December. And the category for this one was Best Live action film. Anything under the Disney umbrella fell into this. It could be Star Wars, it could be the Muppets, it could be Marvel, it could be Indiana Jones, which is now under the Disney umbrella. And we do have some finalists here, but first let's get to our lists of the movies that we nominated as well. Michelle, let's start with you. Her lists are always the best list, of course. So
I don't know about that. You know, it was really, really tough. Narrowing it down to 5, especially since it was such a broad topic. You know, I'm almost wondering.
I didn't narrow it down to 5. Surprising. So just so you know.
See, I did. I don't know. There's some rumor out there that I sometimes cheat on my list length.
Cheat?
I don't know how people would even think that.
Cheat is such a rough term for it.
Exploit.
Yeah. Bend the rules slightly.
I guess. But I was on it this time. So in no particular order from my 5 live action, I have Pirates of the Caribbean, or Pirates of the Caribbean, however you want to.
You sail to the Caribbean, you go on the Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's true.
Yes.
Curse of the Black Pearl.
Yes.
And old school, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Oh, that is old school. Very nice.
It is. I just thought, that was kind of, one of the earlier ones. We've been out to the Walt Disney Studios in Burbank and been to the actual studio where they filmed it. It's just impressive to think how they made that film in that small, compact location.
Right.
It's like,
yeah.
what?
It's impressive to see how they pulled that off.
Right?
For sure.
Exactly. Black Panther.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Right. When I was really looking at all the, even including Marvel and everything, I have to say that's always been my favorite Marvel movie.
So good.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Remember the Titans.
Oh, that's a good one.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I don't think it gets a lot of recognition,
Yeah.
but it really is a powerful film, an emotional film, and really touches on some really important aspects, but it's also a feel-good film.
Yeah, Disney has some really good, based on a real story, a true story,
Right.
sports movies that I really enjoy. That's a really good one. That's a good choice.
Thank
Good
you.
job. Good job.
And the last one, it's really tough for me to narrow it down to 5, but I again went old school in a movie that has a lot of feelings associated with that, and that would be Old Yeller.
Oh. That ending, not exactly a feel-good ending, but it is a classic for sure.
It definitely is a classic. It was, for me, being reintroduced through Disney Plus of a lot of the old movies that I may have seen or may not have seen, and seeing how some of these characters, Fess Parker, for example, who we've seen in Davy Crockett,
Right.
to see him in this, and yet and some of the other characters that have been in other Disney features, that they weren't so typecasted. It didn't, like some movies, when I see somebody who's been in another movie, it's almost like, oh, I can't get past who they are, and that I didn't feel that way with this. And hey, it's a movie with a dog.
Yeah.
It's
Big
a
old yellow dog.
beautiful dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Pouring one out for Old Yeller.
I know.
Yeah, it's a great choice. Great list.
Thank you.
Michelle's list's always the best list. My list, and typical Hyperion Adventures podcast tradition, I went ahead and have more than 5 here. So, I know, shocker. So I'll start with a movie that I feel is actually, because of the fact it's a couple years old and it's not on Disney Plus yet, that I think it's kind of been lost in the shuffle a little bit, and some people have maybe forgot about it. But I feel it's a really, really good movie with really, really good music, and that is Mary Poppins Returns.
Right.
I think that I think it's been a couple years now, and it's not on Disney Plus, so people aren't seeing it as frequently. But once it gets there and they're being able to check it out again, and remember that it actually is a really good movie, that it will be back and people will be talking about it once again.
I mean, it is a great movie. Maybe it's still because it's very young.
Yeah, could be.
For a
Could
Hall
be.
of Fame.
Could be, whatever. I don't care. I also wanted to get a Muppets film in there, and I was debating there because there are so many great Muppets films, but we were just watching this the other day. I'm like, this one should be on there, and it was kind of the rebirth of the Muppets in many ways, when Jason Segel kind of took them and led them back, and it looked like there was going to be this resurgence of the Muppets again. Unfortunately, it's kind of fallen to the wayside. But The Muppets, the one that was just released a few years back, I think is a really, really good movie with really great music and a charming story, and one that deserves to possibly at least be voted on for the Hall of Fame.
Right. I agree. It was very close to making my list, definitely on my honorable mentions. Like you said, it really was a touching film, and it did include the Muppets, but it had, the other actors in it also played a predominant role in it. And so it was it definitely, I think, deserves.
It showcased a lot of the things we love about the Muppets. There are a lot of cameos in it, but there is the actual Muppet Show in there. It's a special Muppet Show, but there is the Muppet Show, and just some of the things we love. And so I really thought they were going to take back off from there, but unfortunately they kind of lost their way again. Hopefully they find it and get back to the Muppets we love so much. And I just think there's so much that they can unpack there that eventually they'll find the right formula and get the Muppets going again. So #save the Muppets.
Yes.
Number 4 is Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, just like Michelle. Number 3, yes, Raiders of the Lost Ark is a Disney umbrella movie. There is a new Indiana Jones movie coming eventually, and I think Raiders of the Lost Ark is the best of the batch so far. For number 2, I have a 2A and a 2B, but they kind of tie together. That's why. Number 2A is Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Rogue what?
Yeah. I'm really surprised that wasn't on Michelle's list because she loves that film. 2B is Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. They kind of go together. If you know
That's
them,
true.
They really, you almost want, if you watch Rogue One, a Star Wars story, you almost want to watch A New Hope right afterwards because it just meshes right together. And finally, number 1, yes, of course, it's Hamilton. Yes.
That's a great one. I kind of debated on it too, because as something that is on Disney Plus, I would, I love watching that, and it rates really high. I think because it was such a broad topic for me, I was trying to narrow things down, and I said, okay, this more is a video playing of a play versus an actual film, and so that's how I psychologically dropped it from the list, but it's a good choice.
Like I said, there's plenty of criteria you can use to this. I didn't base it on anything specific. You could have done all Marvel films, all Star Wars. You could have done all classic films, as some people did. You could have just focused. I just want movies that are officially Disney and not some of these side projects they've brought in. And that's fine. It's whatever you like it to be. I wasn't trying to be very specific on it, more than it just needs to be a live action film. That's it. So, and under the Disney umbrella, of course. So.
And when I don't know why my brain when I was first making the list, the word action kind of like was predominant in my brain, and I was like, okay, live action, so it has to be like an action kind of movie. And I was like, oh wait, no, I don't think that's the definition.
Anyway, so those are our lists. Now, here are the films that are going to actually be on our final ballot. They received multiple nominations, so they will be on our final ballot when that comes out in the end of November, December, near the end of the year. So we'll start off with, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. The classic did make it. Avengers Endgame did make it onto the ballot. Black Panther, which almost made my list, but it didn't quite get there. Black Panther deservedly makes it, and they will be up for vote. Captain America, the Winter Soldier, another fan favorite Marvel film, will be on there. Enchanted, which again was almost on my list.
Right.
It's a wonderful Disney live action movie, one of my favorites. I'm glad it's going to get to be voted for on our final ballot.
That movie just really shouts Disney. It has all the elements. It has a great storyline, a princess and a prince and a villain, and great music and dancing, and it's just an all-around great Disney film. Yeah, I agree. It almost made my list.
Right. It's fun because it's a Disney movie, and it's a Disney princess movie that kind of pokes a lot of fun at Disney's history and Disney's princess movies, but it's still great and just totally enjoyable and charming. Hamilton, yes, did make it. I promise you there were multiple votes for Hamilton. Iron Man, the original Iron Man, did make the list, and I think that's warranted because we don't know what Marvel would even be if the Marvel Cinematic Universe could continue to exist if the original Iron Man was not a success. So, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, yes, made that. Raiders of the Lost Ark did make it. Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, all made our final ballot. So again, those will be up for voting coming up here at the end of the year. finally, we need to talk about, because we are just, as we are recording this, 5 days away from The Mandalorian Season 2 debuting on on Disney Plus. Yes, debuting on The Mandalorian, Disney Plus. So we've been doing our rewatch of Season 1 and just really enjoying it again. It's every time we watch it, it doesn't get old.
Right.
Enjoying it every single time. And I want to know your thoughts on Mandalorian Season 1.
Oh, it's fantastic. And, we've been watching also intermingling the documentary that was done on that.
Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian.
Right. Yeah. And it's really, I think that helps you appreciate how they did it. The story is already strong enough with just watching it.
And the characters are really strong, yeah.
Right. And it's just such a creative way of telling the story in a Western type style. Love it. Yeah,
it's really, really good. I'm sure you've watched it, but totally worth the rewatch as we lead into The Mandalorian Season 2. Speaking of that, what do we expect in Season 2 of The Mandalorian? It's going to be interesting when we saw a new teaser trailer this week, and they've had some other things out there. Looks like it's all going to be about, the clan of two out there trying to kind of find the child's, Baby Yoda, his kind. Now, right, what is his kind? Is it the Jedi, or is it his actual species, which we only know of a couple of that species that have ever existed within Star Wars, and they've never named that species. Of course, Yoda is the most familiar one, but if you also go back to some of the prequels, you'll see another one there on the Jedi Council. That one's Yaddle, which is a female version. Yeah. But it doesn't have a large part. You only just barely see it in glimpses around some of the scenes within the Jedi Council. But they've never, in a franchise that has named virtually everything you've ever seen on the screen, they've never hesitated on. There's been a mystery as to what the species is that is Yoda, that is the child, that is Yaddle. So are we going to find that out, or maybe not? Or are we just going to find out more of what Jedi still exist within, in this kind of post Return of the Jedi period within the Star Wars universe?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think they have a lot of opportunities there, especially as a series, to kind of drive where they want it to give the information and roll that out, or create that, I guess. So yeah, I think that they could go a number of ways, and I'm wondering if the Mandalorian is actually going to name the child.
Yeah.
Or if he's going to be very esoteric with his
little guy, little green guy.
But considering it's part of his clan, that he might do that. It's just a little piece of wonder. So that's. I am wondering what we'll see in Season 2. I think that there have been some leaks as to possible characters out there, and now you never know what is real and what is not out there. There's been leaks that you might see Ahsoka Tano as a live action character for the first time within this. Sabine Wren, if you know Rebels, may be in this, which makes total sense because she's one of the last characters we've ever seen hoist the dark saber, which we saw at the finale of Season 1 of The Mandalorian. So will we see more of her? Totally would make sense, because we know, at least at the end of Return of the Jedi, that those two are still out there in the world. They're looking for Ezra Bridger. It makes sense that if they're looking for, there's a Mandalorian tie there and a Jedi tie, that would make sense, but we don't know. One thing that's interesting I saw and I don't know how accurate it is. Again, this is on social media, so take it with a grain of salt. Must be true.
But apparently they didn't release any screeners to any of the critics going out there, which kind of tells me that just like they did last year with hiding Baby Yoda, the child, from us for so long, there are some things that they want to be sure that they, maybe there's some things that have leaked, but there's some other things they don't want to get out there. So I'm looking forward to some fun, interesting twists and turns as we get to Season 2. I'm so excited.
I know, right? Me too.
So I just wanted to do a quick look back at that as we get through, and I'm sure as the weeks go on, I kind of plan on talking a little more about Disney Plus, since we're all staying at home and while watching more TV right now. Well, most of us are staying at home. We're definitely staying staying at home. That I plan on talking about some of the things we're enjoying on Disney Plus more week in and week out, and definitely The Mandalorian is going to be one of those things. So as for this week's episode, we have lots of stuff for you today, including we now know the dates for the Walt Disney World Festival. We feel is extremely underrated. Better yet, it comes with a hotel deal. So if you're thinking about visiting and checking this out, we'll have some more details on that. Also, even though Disneyland remains closed, chance is coming to get at least a small taste of Disney's California adventure. We'll tell you a little bit about that. And we meet an extremely fierce new Disney heroine. But enough about all that. Let's get to our main topic of the week. So yes, our main topic this week is our 5 favorite not so scary Disney moments. This is an interesting topic, and it could go a lot of different ways because we didn't really have any true parameters on this. You know, it could be things from films that have been kind of scary but not so scary, things from television shows, scary, not so scary, the parks, of course, or just kind of moments in your life that involve Disney that give you that Halloween feel. So this should be some interesting lists here. And we know Michelle's list will be interesting. Mine, we'll see about. But this should be a lot of fun just the same.
Well, thank you. You know, I wasn't sure where to go with this list either. And I'm like, oh, man, where do I even begin? Like you said, it was so broad. And it's like, am I doing it right? I just don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there was a right to this. That's the thing, is that I think it's just kind of, what do you feel is a not so scary moment that's Disney related that you've enjoyed? And that's kind of where we put it out there. You know, I think we also confused some of our listeners on social media because we didn't get a lot of response. Usually we get a ton of responses on these things. Only 1 or 2 on this one. So maybe hopefully at the end of this, after you see what we've listed, you'll come up with some of your favorite not so scary moments, and we'll share them on a future show.
True. Good point.
So let's get to our list right away here. And we always start with Michelle because she has the best, most interesting list. She's also awesome. I mean, and look at that wonderful shirt. I like that shirt. That her Nightmare Before Christmas shirt better than my Nightmare Before Christmas shirt, but that shouldn't shock you. So let's get to Michelle's number 5 favorite not so scary Disney moment.
Well, thank you. So mine, number 5 is more of an experience, and it relates to food.
Okay.
And that is experiencing the pumpkin spice shake. You know,
from Flo's V8 Cafe, specifically.
Right.
Because we tried other ones, not as good.
So just first of all, it is a milkshake, and it's topped with whipped cream, has caramel drizzle on it.
Has like graham cracker little chunks in it.
Exactly.
It's really good.
Yeah, and kind of like sprinkled on the top a lot of times. And as you mentioned, our favorite version is the one from Flo's V8. Some of the other locations carry a
They're
similar.
Fine. Not as good.
I mean, this one is like a real thick, rich, flavorful. And, you know, I thought of this too because when I first thought of having a pumpkin milkshake, it was a little scary. I mean, not like it scared me, but I was like, oh,
you weren't scared? Was that your not so spooky moment?
Yes,
not so scary moment?
I was cautious about trying it. Let's say that. Not necessarily afraid, but cautious. And ended up loving it.
Yeah. We've gotten it multiple times since.
I know. Embarrassed to say, I think it was our first time that we got it. We ended up going back for seconds. A little embarrassing, but couldn't resist. It was.
Well, we also split it the first time.
That's true.
And so, you know, it's like
1.5.
Yeah, the second time we went, I mean, not the second time of that day that we went, but the second time we went and got it, we ended up getting one each because it was so good that we didn't want to just do half of one.
That's right. So what turned into a cautious concern turned out to be wonderful and made it to my number 5.
Good. It was on one of my honorable mentions, actually. So,
all right.
Very good.
So what about your number 5?
My number 5 favorite not so scary Disney moment was our Halloween on the High Seas Disney cruise with our family. And it's more, I guess it's an entire cruise more than just a moment, but it was the entire thing was a wonderful moment, just a lengthy moment over several days, over a week. Well, I think it was 5 days actually for ours, but Disney does it right with their decorations, and that goes for the Disney cruise as well. Great decorations. They have jack-o'-lanterns on some of the windows. The big pumpkin jack-o'-lantern tree. It just is done so well. We really enjoyed the Nightmare Before Christmas sing-along where they show the movie and then you sing along in there. And I'm not going to give it away in case it comes up for you later on, but there's something that happens at the end that's a lot of fun. Watching the kids trick or treat across the ship was so much fun as well. That was great. The character interactions in there, Halloween costumes on the ship was fun. And, bottom line, it's a Disney cruise. What more do you need?
Exactly.
So it was just a lot of fun. And I would love to do another Halloween on the High Seas cruise.
Agreed. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And that's a great choice. Yes. They do a lot of stories in the evening as well. They have a tree, and it seems like it gets more full and spookier as the time goes on. They just keep building up things and increasing the activity. So, to really build up to that party where you get to go trick-or-treating. And so I agree. Good choice.
Yeah. It's so much fun, and highly recommended if you get the chance to book a Disney cruise, Halloween on the High Seas sailing. Definitely do it. It's really a good time. Everybody in costume and just having a great old time. So definitely recommend it. So that's my number 5. Let's get to Michelle's number 4 favorite not so scary Disney moment.
So my number 4, kind of going back to last week's topic, it involves the Haunted Mansion, specifically the one here at Disneyland when they have the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay, and specifically even is coming up to that ballroom scene, and, we talked about how they have the gingerbread house there and the smells, especially of cinnamon as you approach there. And, you just have such warm feelings, our sense of smell can remind us of other things, memories. And so it's just a really phenomenal part, I think, of that attraction. All of it is very creative, but that is most memorable or most, that I look forward to because it's very different each year to see what it looks like as well. So that is my number 4.
It does shout Halloween for us and Christmas for us because it is a double holiday, event there at the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland. But you turn that corner, go into that ballroom, get that waft of ginger and nutmeg and cinnamon, and it's just it makes the holiday. So I appreciate that. Great choice, Michelle's list.
Thank you.
Always the best lists.
What about you?
My number 4, I have a 4A and a 4B because Hyperion Adventures podcast, but they're both film related. So I kind of wanted to tie them together. One's from a Marvel film, one is from a Star Wars film, going back to our live action stuff. So my 4A is the Thanos snap right near the end of Avengers Infinity War. Totally caught off guard that when I first saw that film that he would actually pull off his quest, and just was not ready for that at all.
Agreed. It was like, really? That's how this movie is ending?
Right. Watching your favorite heroes, many of them fade away, left in complete shock. And that is pretty much the way the entire audience walked out of the theater, in complete shock. We sat there through the credits. Everybody was silent. You just couldn't believe what you just saw. And like I said, it was like a film experience that I can't recall ever having before when I left that. It really affected me.
Right, exactly. And you knew you weren't going to find the answer out for about a year.
Right.
And so it was like, how do you deal with this? And, and like you said, they literally had them fade away, and it was very emotional of how it happened.
Yeah. Really, really odd situation to go
Right.
through, but it was a not so scary moment for me, just the feeling that I had after that. My 4B for my other not so scary film moment actually was the scene at the end of Rogue One, a Star Wars story, where Darth Vader is tracking down the rebels that are trying to run away with the plans to get away from him, and he's just there taking them out right and left.
Right.
It made Darth Vader scary again,
Yes.
because when I was a kid, yes, he was kind of scary, but you never saw him as Darth Vader himself really dominate out there. Yeah,
Right.
you saw him fight a few times. You saw him fight Luke. Of course, you saw him fight Obi-Wan, but you never saw him just be this devastating force as Darth Vader. He was scary at the end of that film. And you could feel the terror of those rebels trying to get the plans out as it went through. That was a wonderful, not so scary moment for me.
Right. And how they made you feel so at the edge of your seat with that scene, even though you knew that the plans got to Leia.
Right.
It's like, how is this going to happen? Is it going to happen? Oh, it's going to happen, but how?
Right. So that's mine. That's why, like I said, they were just two film moments that I thought
Those
were
are
really
excellent.
interesting and they're actually moments. They were, kind of frightening, not so scary, but still frightening at the same time. So those are my number 4s. Let's get to Michelle's number 3 favorite not so scary
All
Disney
right.
moment.
So again, I'm kind of seeing a trend here with Disneyland, but and maybe it's just because I'm jonesing it so much.
So much.
But
So much.
one of our favorite times of the year obviously is Halloween, but going into Cars Land and seeing how they are immensely creative with using car parts and things you associated with cars to come up with Halloween decorations that really do look like authentic Halloween decorations. And it's just each year they have a little bit different things. They have their billboards and everything that support this, and the actual cars have their own costumes. And there's, we've talked about in the past how you feel so immersed into that land anyways. And when you go at Halloween time, you just feel like, yes, they're celebrating Halloween like the rest of us. And it's so imaginative and so fun that it's awesome.
Yeah, I completely agree. They deck it out as if the cars themselves, the characters from Cars Land, decorated the place, and it's completely imaginative. One of the main things that we love about Cars Land, we love Cars Land so very much. Yes, they have great attractions. We talked about the pumpkin spice shake already there. They do have good food there, but the creative way they do things there, the Halloween decorations, yes, the Christmas decorations as well, the holiday decorations, a lot of fun. I love it. So it's a great choice.
Thank you. Who would think you could get spare parts and just make something look like something that you would associate with Halloween,
right?
And they have some of the music overlays with the attraction. So
they do that at both Mater's Junkyard Jamboree and also the Luigi's Rollickin' Roadsters.
Right.
So both great. A lot of fun.
Thank you.
Love Cars Land. We're missing Disney so much right now,
Yes.
especially this time of year. All the year, but especially this time of year. So my number 3, I'm going to go back to a couple years ago, and there's going to be a lot of Nightmare Before Christmas ties in, I think, with this. And this one is going to be our visit to the Hollywood Bowl for the Nightmare Before Christmas live for its 25th anniversary at the Hollywood Bowl. And now this is Disney, but it wasn't actually a Disney park or anything, but it's a Disney film.
Right.
And the way they did it was so wonderful, where they put out this entire orchestra, they put the film there on, and they also had some other projections as well up there. And then they had many of the stars come out and sing their songs, including, yes, Danny Elfman, who, of course, wrote all the music and sings as Jack Skellington throughout that movie. Catherine O'Hara was there playing Sally. Ken Page as Oogie Boogie came out and did the Oogie Boogie song. It was so great. Paul Rubens even showed up, and he along with Catherine O'Hara and Danny Elfman do our Lock, Shock, and Barrel. So they did Kidnap the Sandy Claus all together, and it was just so fun and great and such an imaginative way to put it on. And it also wrapped up with Danny Elfman doing an encore with of course his band was Oingo Boingo, and he did Dead Man's Party, rocked that out at the end. And Tim Burton was even there that night, and he dragged him out on stage at the end. It was just all around just a really, really fun night, and something that we'll never forget.
Right, exactly. I mean, if any of you have ever seen where they have a live orchestra and they're replaying a film, that in and of itself is just, there's something very unique about that experience, even more so than seeing it in a theater. Watching the actual musicians play, and you can see in their faces that, at times that it's intensity, at times that it's light, and, they're enjoying it. It just makes for an interesting way to observe that film. And like you said, this had then the next level of actually having the original voice performers on stage singing alongside with the movie. It was just so wonderful. I mean, it was like such a I just keep saying, it's an interesting way. It had additional layers of making it a more joyful experience to watch.
They had people were decked out in cosplay. They had a costume contest before it. It was just so much fun from beginning to end, and it's in this historic place, Hollywood Bowl, which has been around forever and just hosted wonderful concerts and shows for years and years and years. And this great movie that we enjoy very much, and to see the stars perform their parts, it's something, like I said, we'll never forget.
Exactly.
So that was my number 3. Let's get to Michelle's number 2 favorite not so scary Disney moment.
So my favorite, number 2, I should say, is experiencing the Oogie Boogie Bash at Disneyland Resort. It was just initiated last year. It's their inaugural year. And
we went to the inaugural one, the very first Oogie Boogie Bash.
That's right. And, when we first went, it was a little scary to think that it was the inaugural one, because we know with anything, especially any kind of a big event or party that you can throw on, things might not work correct as you would expect or hope. And so we thought, I thought like, oh, this might have some glitches. It might make it a little bit, clunky at times. And is it going to be enjoyable? Did we make a mistake going to the inaugural one? And all these things were in my mind. But again, those fears were totally alleviated throughout the night when it was just so well done. I mean, obviously Disney knows how to throw an event. And they've had, some experience with their Mickey Not So Scary events. So I'm sure they were able to, build on that. But they really did make it unique in having, first of all, they had a lot of the characters around. They had an area that you could see a lot of the villains all at once, and, be up close to them. They had some really great sets for photo opportunities throughout. They were extremely generous with the trick-or-treating. So generous. I know. And they had a great balance because, if you wanted to be able to have some of the treats that weren't candy, they had great options. They really turned me on to those apple crisps. I love them now.
Right.
So, having the concern or the fear of going to an inaugural event like that and seeing it turn out so wonderful. We had such a blast. I mean, obviously we were with some wonderful friends as well, with Rob and Kim, but it was just impressive to see Disney, develop, take an existing idea and making it different and better.
Yes, agreed. And this is the rare time we're actually in sync. This is my number 2 as well, attending the inaugural Oogie Boogie Bash with our wonderful friends, Rob and Kim, who, of course, from the Jedi Temple Archives podcast, who I sometimes will pop in on, and the new Hoop De Duo Review podcast as well, which they do a lot of great job of looking at Disney stuff, reviewing Disney things, and and some other things around the Orlando area and some other areas. But anyway, we had such a wonderful time with them. It was so special being with them. It was their not Kim's first time to Disneyland, but it was Rob's first time to visit Disneyland. So we got to go out there, and when we introduced them to Galaxy's Edge for the first time a few days prior to that, and then showed back up for this and had that great party the first time it ever happened, first time in Oogie Boogie Bash. Had just wonderful experience with them. So much candy. Parkway was so much candy. I also loved Villainous, the Halloween version of the World of Color, which was really, really cool. One of my favorite World of Color shows that we'd ever seen. And so, brand new.
Sure.
Just totally enjoyed that. It was themed perfectly. We just had so much fun, and it was great to experience it with our friends.
Right. It was a very immersive experience. I mean, throughout the park, you had music playing, projections on buildings, everything, just came together to make you feel very immersed in this. And you did realize it was Oogie Boogie throwing on this party.
Yeah, that's right.
He was definitely evident.
Definite. Yeah. And a lot of the villains throughout the park at different areas. Just really cool. Good stuff. Good stuff. So that was my number 2 as well. Let's not hesitate any longer. Let's get to Michelle's number 1 favorite not so scary Disney moment.
Well, thank you. And it kind of is a little portion of what was one of your favorites, where you were talking about the Disney Cruise Halloween on the High Seas, and specifically the sing-along for Nightmare Before Christmas. It's just a lot of fun being in a theater and everybody getting to sing along with that. Wonderful. The music is great in the film anyways. And as you mentioned there, and I won't give it away, but actually my number 1 is the ending of it, and I won't give it away because it's really something that people should experience on their own. But it was very creative and a lot of fun, as we mentioned, with the whole experience of Disney Cruise Line Halloween on the High Seas. They do some really wonderful things to make it a special cruise. So even if you've gone on other Disney cruises, you get a little bit extra on this one. And so that kind of, like I said, mainly my number 1 is really the Nightmare Before Christmas sing-along and the finale of it as my number 1.
Very nice.
Thank you.
I love it too, obviously, because I already mentioned it within my list. So great choice, Michelle's list. Always the best list. My number 1, well, mine also kind of brings in a portion of something you already mentioned. But this really, it's not technically a moment, I guess, although it could be a moment, but it's going to be every moment, every ride I've ever had on the Haunted Mansion. I don't care if it's in Disneyland. I don't care if it's Magic Kingdom, even Phantom Manor within Disneyland Paris.
Right.
It's always not so scary fun for me.
Good point.
Way back to, and we mentioned this last week when we were talking about the Haunted Mansion, to the very first time that I went on it, and I cried as a child because it was a little more than not so scary to me, but that just shows you that it's there. And then now that I love it so much that it's one of my favorite classic attraction for sure. I conquered that fear.
Yay.
But every time you go on it, it's so great. It's got its own little magic within it that, is from way back when, but still plays and is wonderful today. It's scary, but it's funny, and it's just, it's like the perfect dark ride to me. And it does have that Halloween / scary feel.
Right, exactly.
Then you throw in when we're lucky enough out here on the West Coast at Disneyland to get the Haunted Mansion Holiday, where you also get the Nightmare Before Christmas thrown in, which we've grown to love so much. It's so funny because we were not attracted to that movie up till 4 or 5 years ago. And suddenly we just fell in love with that movie, and we love it so much. And having that as part of the attraction is just so great for a few months out of the year. I love the Haunted Mansion so very much, and that's why it's my number 1. It's always been there, and it'll always be this spooky, not so scary fun for me.
Right. No, exactly. And, as you mentioned, it's one of those rides that, is such a classic from so many years ago. And the fact that it is still so much a favorite of yours, of so many people who go to the parks, to think that, with very little tweaking, it has become still, or shouldn't has become, that it is still cherished by people.
It's 50 plus years old now, 51 years old now. And it's still that amazing. That just tells you what a great attraction is, what the Imagineers did with that attraction. I mean, yes, they've added a little bit to it. They've tweaked some things. They've modernized a few things about it, but it's still the same basic attraction, and it's still awesome top to bottom.
Exactly.
So those are our lists. We did get one listener mention of what there. Again, I think we confused people, and hopefully you'll chime in later, and we'll be happy to read these on a future episode if you want to give us your 5 favorite not so scary Disney moments. But Jonathan Cotton hit us up on Instagram, a great friend of ours, and we enjoy a lot of fun stuff with him and his wife Camille and their daughter Lorelai on social media. You can find him at Vinyl and Disney on Instagram. He said, we did Mickey's Not So Scary at Disneyland in 2014 and Oogie Boogie Bash in 2019. Wow. Probably the best part was getting to be dressed up in the parks. Yeah, always fun when you get to break out the costumes. Or the cosplay, or even Disney bounding when you're at Disney parks. That is a great time. Things we absolutely loved, though, the fireworks show at the castle, the Trick or Treat Trail in Disney California Adventure, and the Descendants Party.
Right.
Yes, that was so fun as well. I know that they're big Descendants fans, especially little Lorelai, who, by the way, if you've ever seen us put those out on social media, she is our cutest fan.
Right.
Our cutest listener.
Oh, my God. Yeah. She is so stinking cute.
Well put, Michelle. Puts it best. Anyway, he goes on to say, my special memory was meeting Jack Sparrow while dressed up as Jack. Camille's was being dressed as Queen Elsa, with our good friend dressed as Anna, and having kids throughout the park getting so excited to see them. So that's really cool. So thank you, Jonathan, for chiming in.
Yes, good list.
So do you have any other honorable mentions?
I do. And first of all, I want to say, the films you did, especially Thanos' Snap, that was really a good one.
Thank you.
Yeah. I wish I'd thought of that one. Kind of some honorable mentions. One is going to a classic is the Skeleton Dance. That is a classic, right? That Disney had with the what is it? What was that series?
Silly Symphonies.
Silly Symphonies. Yes. Thank you. That just kind of reminds me of Halloween.
Sure.
And obviously too, another short would be the one where that Mickey, Goofy, and Donald hunt ghosts.
Right.
That's a cute little
blanking
short.
on the name of that one, but that one's it's you can find it on Disney Plus.
Right.
It's great.
I think it's
too.
Ghostly something.
Yeah.
And then more for personal is Winnie the Pooh Halloween, and loving to be able to when our son was small, being able to play that DVD for him, and just kind of I'd pull it out during Halloween time, and it just kind of was fun to do that.
That's fun. Cool.
Yeah. What about you?
Mine were mostly already named. One of mine, I told you my honorable mentions, was the pumpkin spice shake from Flo's V8 Cafe. And you also sort of mentioned the other one. It's just the Halloween decorations. Yes, in Cars Land, they're magnificent. Hopefully you'll get a chance in the future to go check them out if you haven't before. But just basically throughout the Disney parks, and especially Disneyland, we talked about it a few episodes ago, about how we went on the double-decker bus, top of the double-decker bus, up and down Main Street, USA. And I counted the jack-o'-lanterns. They're up there. And I think I ended up with over 200.
Yeah, it was a big number. Yeah.
That is how they deck it out. The decorations are spectacular. I love it. And it just shouts Halloween to me whenever those first come out in and around, usually, sometimes it's as early as late August, but usually in and around September, out throughout October. It's just, it is Halloween to me. And it's one of the main reasons we miss Disneyland so much.
True. It is interesting how they have it, each of the jack-o'-lanterns obviously look very different. How it's you still feel the nostalgia of Main Street USA. Like, it doesn't interrupt that.
No.
You don't feel like you're in a different location. The way that they incorporate the colors and everything, it brings in the fall, but you still feel like you're on Main Street USA.
Yep. No, they do such a great job with the decorations. And I'll say it, they do a wonderful job with decorations at Walt Disney World. But pound for pound, the Disneyland Resort, I think their decorations for all the holiday seasons, pound for pound. If
Right.
you're going to, obviously the Disneyland is a lot smaller than Walt Disney World. If you were just, I think they deck it out just a little bit better at Disneyland personally.
Right.
Love both.
Right.
But I just think Disneyland does just a slightly better job with their decorations. So that's it for our 5 favorite not so scary Disney moments. Again, I know that this was a little bit of a interesting and confusing topic. It could be. We would still love to hear yours. Please hit us up on social media or through our Gmail account, and we will send yours out on a future show.
Right. Sounds like a great plan. Happy Halloween.
So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, like I said, it's a wide topic. What is considered not so scary to you and I could be something completely different to somebody else. So it's just an interesting topic. But there's so much cool stuff from Disney that's out there. That's yes, you can get a little bit of a scare, but
Right.
it's mellow, it's tame, it's good for everybody, good
Right.
for all kids of all ages.
That's true. Just something to help you feel more in the spirit of the holiday.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. So let's get to our Disney stories of the week. I do have a few for you this week, a few interesting ones. And we're going to start with, we now know the dates for the Walt Disney World Festival we feel is extremely underrated. Better yet, it comes with a nice hotel deal. And better yet for us, selfishly, we're going to get to experience it on 2 trips
I know,
to the Walt
yay.
Disney World. So this from the Disney Parks blog. A global celebration of the visual, culinary, and performing art is on its way to Walt Disney World Resort early next year as the Taste of Epcot International Festival of the Arts is set for January 8th through February 22nd, 2021. That's totally exciting. Can't wait. It's one of our
Yes.
favorite festivals. I think it gets, obviously Flower and Garden is great.
Right.
Food and Wine is fantastic. But I think you'd be surprised at how actually strong, if you've never experienced it, the Festival of the Arts is.
Right. I totally agree. I mean, obviously the food and it has some unique foods, and because it's Festival of the Arts, it is something that they try to also make sure that the visual component of the food is something that is very attractive as well. It has a lot of great activities that associate with art that either as adults or as kids, they have different types of things that you can be a part of. And obviously, like with any of the festivals at Epcot, they really do a great job with decorating and theming, etc. But I totally agree with you. It's very underrated. I don't think a lot of people really think to capture times to go there, and maybe just because of the season, it's a time of year that after the New Year's that people are back in school or work, etc. So it's a little more difficult to maybe plan a trip at that
Yeah,
time.
it is a tougher time of year for most people to go out, but that's also a benefit if you are able to go out during
Right.
that time, because a lot of times the park crowds, I mean, obviously right now the park crowds aren't what they would be in the past, but any time of year, the park crowds tend to be a little lower during that time of year. The temperatures tend to be a little nicer during that time of year.
Right.
Actually, it can get kind of cold during that time of year
True.
sometimes. We were out there a couple of years ago and it was like in the 40s,
Right.
so, but a lot of times it's more around, the 60s, 70s. It's actually really, really nice to be out there at that time of year. So definitely check it out. If you've never been before, definitely check it out. And Michelle was talking about the colorful food, those sushi donuts all day
Yes,
long. I'm so
I
excited. I hope they
know.
have those back this year because those are so
Awesome.
good. Yeah, I know it sounds weird, but believe me, they're delicious and wonderful and pretty.
Yes.
So like Michelle. So going on with the story, even more good news. If you're planning on to attend the festival, there is a special offer on stays at the Disney Resort hotels in early 2021, inviting you to be fully immersed in the most magical place on earth. Now, as far as the Taste of Epcot International Festival of the Arts, here's what you will experience when you go out if you get to visit during that time. You can indulge in over 15 food studios serving culinary art. As Michelle said, they make them pretty as well.
Right.
culinary art all around World Showcase. You can explore and purchase the brilliant and diverse work of Disney and other invited artists on display in marketplaces encircling World Showcase Lagoon. You can step into the scene of special photo locations scattered around the park. Participate in a paint by number mural that serves as a collaborative art project for all, which is always a lot of fun.
Right, and if you ever want to see that, we've had them on our show before, but Young Adventures.
Oh yeah,
has a YouTube video where they had their kids involved in that as well, and it's a really cute video, but it's really interesting to see. I guess I had never really paid attention to that mural. I mean, I walked past it and saw that, but really enticed me to think, oh, maybe we'll do that too.
Yeah, we haven't done it at the Arts Festival. We did something similar at the D23 Expo 2019, where it was a paint by numbers thing, and it was for a mural that was going up in a children's hospital or something, and there's a portion of it that we actually painted. It's a small portion, but we are a part of that mural. And that's really cool to be able to say that you're a part of this piece of art that's hanging somewhere for people to enjoy somewhere. So also you get to watch as visiting artists create their magic right before your eyes, catch performances by favorite Epcot musical artists such as Mariachi Cobre and the Jaminators.
Nice.
And join an artful scavenger hunt as you search for Figment around World Showcase. Who doesn't want to do a scavenger hunt for Figment around
I know,
World
right?
Showcase? And of course, there's all sorts of festival exclusive merchandise that always is. So now on to the hotel deal that's available now. And this is whether you want to do the Arts Festival or not, but it's during this time. And there are some really great bargains going on right now if you're looking to go for a stay during that time. You can save up to 35% on rooms at select Disney Resort hotels for stays most nights from January 3rd through April 17th, 2021. So beyond the Arts Festival. Yeah. The discount depends on the level of Disney Resort for your stay and the dates you're visiting. The lower percentage that we're going to talk about here are for Friday and Saturday nights of your stay. So you get a little bit less of a discount if you're staying on a Friday or Saturday night. So value resorts, you can save from 10 to 20% savings. Moderate resorts are 15 to 25%. Deluxe resorts are 25 to 35%. And deluxe villas, most are 25 to 35%, except for the Boulder Ridge Villas at Disney's Wilderness Lodge, the Copper Creek Villas and Cabins at Disney's Wilderness Lodge, Disney's Beach Club Villas, and Disney's Polynesian Villas and Bungalows. Those are 15 to 25% off, depending on the dates that you're staying there. So, and you can book now through March 15th for those stays. So jump on that if you're thinking about getting there. Even if you already have a reservation, you're probably well out of the cancellation date, and the cancellation dates are even tighter. They give you more leeway now with what's going on.
Yeah.
So,
or you can modify it and get the discount.
Yeah, either way. So definitely check into that and see if one of those works for you. Now, back here on the West Coast, if you're missing Disney's California Adventure Park, we are so much. But there's a chance coming for you to get at least a little taste of it. Again, from the Disney Parks blog, beginning in November, there will be even more distinctively Disney dining and shopping for you to enjoy at the Disneyland Resort when the downtown Disney district extends to Buena Vista Street. So this is basically the Main Street USA of Disney California Adventure Park. It's very similar if you only know the East Coast, if you only know Walt Disney World, when you walk into the Disney's Hollywood Studios, they're similar, not the same, but similar in many regards. Buena Vista Street will open soon with select shopping and dining experiences. Here's what will be available if you're thinking about going out there. If you want to do a little holiday shopping, you can head to Elias & Company, which you probably know is divided into distinct sections for men, women, and children. So you'll find something special for the entire family. Also, Julius Katz & Sons, you can peruse even more holiday merchandise and Disney-themed home decor there. At the Kingswell Camera Shop, which they offer great giving ideas like frames, photo albums, more. So all three of those shops will be open for you. Yeah. If you're looking for something to tempt your taste buds, the Trolley Treats is open. They offer classic candies, old-fashioned confections, and all kinds of freshly made treats. Also, vending carts will be open offering popcorn, churros, ice cream, and other must-bite treats. Yes. If you want to, you can also swing by the Fiddler Pfeiffer and Practical Cafe for the enchanting sights and sounds of Buena Vista Street, and a cup of coffee and a scrumptious artisan sandwich. If you're looking for more of a sit-down option, you can go to Carthay Circle Lounge, where you can unwind in their expanded outdoor seating area, featuring an all-new menu of cocktails and dining. That sounds fun. Yeah. Smoke Jumpers Grill is going to be open. So that's just kind of around the corner as you're heading towards Soren, just right around there. They serve up tasty classics for lunch and dinner with a streamlined menu of burgers, fries, onion rings, craft beer. And the best way to approach that is you're going to want to do through the the Disneyland app. It's mobile ordering. Yeah. But that's great there. I actually think Smoke Jumpers Grill is, if you're looking for a burger and some onion rings or whatever, it's pretty underrated. They have some good burgers and some good fries and onion rings there. So they haven't said yet when that's going to be open. They just said it's going to be sometime in November. So we'll let you know when we find out the exact dates. But that's a lot of fun.
Right. It's great that they're expanding. Downtown Disney is just so immensely popular because people are really wanting to
want that touch of Disney.
Yeah, they want that touch of Disney. And so it is, we know that to try to experience that, you have to, be willing to kind of experience some waits and challenges and, virtual queues and everything like that. But I know that people who have done it have really been happy they did it. It's just, it is a very popular area anyways. And so they do get a lot of locals routinely. So
yeah, and it's
great that they're expanding.
If you only know Disney Springs is a pretty large mall essentially, and this is a much smaller mall type area. It's not as big. So, and when you think of all the people that are within a short amount of driving distance of it, it can get pretty crowded. I saw again today that they're on social media. They're like, just know we may be delaying you getting into park or getting into downtown Disney because there's a lot of people wanting to go there. But still, if you get a chance, a lot of fun. I'm excited. I don't know if we're going to be able to make it up to Buena Vista Street to go. Carthay Circle Lounge sounds like something I really could use right now, but I don't think we're going to get up there. But still, we hope you get a chance to, and please tell us all about it if you do.
Right.
So, moving on. Finally, Disney unveiled the first teaser trailer for Raya the Last Dragon this week. It was phenomenal. This is straight from a Walt Disney Company press release. The movie features, of course, Kelly Marie Tran. We found out about that just a few weeks ago, that she is now playing the voice of Raya, a lone warrior whose mission is to track down the legendary last dragon in a bid to save the Kumandra and unite its lands. Talking about the trailer, just had a great scene of her kind of getting into what looks like some sort of temple or something to try and get, I don't know what it was, but she was trying to get, and she was going through all these different, it had a very Indiana Jones type feel to it. She even had this little armadillo, cutest little armadillo you'll ever see, helping her get through some of these booby traps and everything. But she looked fierce, she was fighting, and it was really impressive, and it looked visually stunning.
Definitely did. And we saw a little bit of it introduced at D23 Expo last year. Yes,
2019.
Right.
It seems like,
I know.
Man, it seems so long ago now. Wonder why that is.
Right. And I just remember the first time we saw it was like, wow, that's amazing looking. And so when we were getting ready to watch the trailer again, I thought, okay, we'll see something new or whatever. And again, feeling that, wow, this is amazing. It's very unique looking. It's very, I guess, yes, your comparison to Indiana Jones is good, but other than that, I don't think there's really much you can compare it to. It's visually very stunning and very different than other Disney movies that we've seen, and the animation is just crazy. It just looks real.
Yeah, it did. With the footage we saw at the D23 Expo 2019, like you hardly know that it was animated. It looked so realistic. It's also the first Disney film that is focusing on the Southeast Asia part of the world. So that's kind of cool as well. So here's the synopsis that also came out with this press release of the film. It says, long ago in the fantasy world of Kumandra, humans and dragons lived together in harmony. But when an evil force threatened the land, the dragons sacrificed themselves to save humanity. Now, 500 years later, the same evil has returned, and it's up to a lone warrior, Raya, to track down the legendary last dragon to restore the fractured land and its divided people. However, along her journey, she'll learn that it'll take more than a dragon to save the world. It's going to take trust and teamwork as well. Raya the Last Dragon is from directors Don Hall and Carlos Lopez Estrada, co-directors Paul Briggs and John Ripa, and features, as I just mentioned, the voices of Kelly Marie Tran as Raya and Awkwafina as the Last Dragon Zizu. So, and it's scheduled to be in theaters on March 12th, 2021. However, we know how scheduled to be in theaters is right now. Let's just hope that it does happen, but I'm excited for it. And that trailer just made me that much more excited for it.
Yes.
Yeah. So very cool. So that's it for the Disney stories of the week. However, we never leave you without some sort of tip that might help you on your next vacation, whether it be to the Walt Disney World Resort, Disney Cruise, sometime maybe Disneyland. We'll see. But we always start with Michelle, one, because she's wonderful, great. She does the best research. She has the best tips. Yes, that's right. I said it. She has the very best tips. Let's get right to it. Here's Michelle's tip of the week.
You're too kind. I hope I can live up to that.
You always do. Every single week. You live up to all that.
I don't know, but you're kind and sweet. So one of the things I was thinking of is you might be missing brunches. Even if you're getting to go to Walt Disney World and experience some of the dining there, you might miss some of those brunch experiences. And until they come up with them again, just thought some ideas that you might want to consider. So one, you could look at looking at the menus of different of the dining locations and seeing, what do they have. So for example, if you're looking at the Grand Floridian Cafe, their breakfast and their lunch have a lot of similarities. So just go there and plan to have your own makeshift brunch. You could start with Mickey waffles, and then after a few, after you're done that and had some coffee maybe, then move on to their lobster thermidor burger, and, just kind of, or avocado toast. I mean, just try different things to make it your own brunch, as if you were to, be at a location and you're trying different things that kind of blend from breakfast to lunch fare. The other way that you could do that is looking at the times. Like some restaurants have very different menus for breakfast and lunch, and looking at the time that they switch over. So using the Wave at the Contemporary or Bay Lake Tower as an example, they serve breakfast until 11, and they start their lunch at 11:30. So as long as you're arriving there, say by like 10:45, which is kind of when you might want to consider a brunch anyways. Right. You could go in, order a dish from their breakfast menu, and then by the time you're finished that, their lunch menu would be available to you, and then you could start ordering items from that as well. So just kind of your own way to experience a brunch while at Walt Disney World, and even though it may not be classified as such, you're making it your own.
It's a very good point. Michelle's tips, always the best tips. Yeah, that is a great way to be able to make your own brunch. It doesn't have to be like a scheduled brunch. You make it your own brunch. Right, you turn it into brunch. It's part breakfast, part lunch. It's brunch.
And as Mary Poppins said, enough is as good as a feast.
That is very true. Mary Poppins, so smart.
Almost
as smart as Michelle. My tip this week, and this is something that we discovered actually on our Panama Canal Disney cruise that I didn't know existed before, because it had been a little bit since we had done a Disney cruise. Now, I don't know for sure that they'll be going forward with this when Disney Cruise finally gets sailing again, but this is what they've had going on. And so I'm just going to assume that because it worked very well for us, I would think they would want to keep this moving forward. And that's the fact that when you're on a Disney cruise, it's tough to stay in contact with those at home because, you have to pay for internet a lot. Right. If you're going to try and do a phone call, that is like an arm and a leg, you're going to be paying a lot of money for that. But there is a way to do it for free. Now, first off, I'm going to say, and one thing that I'm pretty sure they'll still have going on because they've had it going on for a long time, is be sure and sign up for the free 50 megabytes of internet on that first day. It doesn't cost you a cent. You sign up for it and you have that. Now, that's not a lot, but it does give you you a little something if you need to connect with somebody, if you want to check emails, whatever.
And you don't have to use it on that first day.
And you don't need to use it on the first day. It's good for the entire cruise if it'll last that long. If you have a shorter cruise, you're more likely to be able to stretch it out. So that's part of it. But also, one great thing that they have going on, or at least they had going on, was that if you have an iPhone or an Apple product and you're looking to connect with people even on the mainland that also have an iPhone or an Apple product, they have free iMessage on the cruise. You can iMessage somebody. So whatever your text program is on iPhone, you know how when you text somebody, that is iMessage if you're texting somebody also on an Apple product. So that's completely free. All you have to do is when you get on the ship is connect with the ship's Wi-Fi. Be sure you're in airplane mode, but with the Wi-Fi on, because you don't want to get accidentally get charged for some of the connections at sea and everything. Right. But if you know somebody, if you have an Apple product and you know somebody that you want to connect to anywhere in the world, really, that also has an Apple product, it won't cost you a cent to do it. We found this out actually midway through our cruise. We went halfway through the cruise. We could have been doing this the whole time. But that happened. And the one way you'll know, and sometimes it can be confusing to you, is if you look at your phone and you text somebody, and if it just saying that you're staying with the standard colors that come with your phone. If the text bubble that you send out is blue, that means that's an iMessage. It's connecting from iMessage. If it's green, then you're connecting with somebody with an Android phone or whatever, and it won't work. It doesn't work for Android phones, unfortunately, at this point that we're recording this right now. So you can't do it for that. But it is of benefit for you if you have an iPhone or an Apple product, an iPad, whatever, an iMac, whatever, and you know somebody on the land that also has that same thing. And believe me, that is a huge money saver if you want to be in contact with somebody back in the mainland.
Exactly. Now, is that only when you're at a port?
No, it's when you're at anywhere when you're at sea on the ship. Cool. Anywhere. So I can't promise you the speed of it, but it does work. We used it ourselves at sea because remember, the last half of the cruise, we were not in a port for actually more than the last half of that cruise. True. We were never in a port.
That's true. That is a good point.
So, okay. And again, I don't know. They were testing it out. It went for at least a year. I don't know for sure that it's going to continue moving forward, but we found great success for it. A lot of people raved about it, that it was a great thing. So hopefully they're going to continue it. And if they do, it's a great way to stay connected with people, with your family and friends at home.
Right, exactly. Great tip. See, thanks. Yours was much better.
I don't think so. That brunch thing, that's much more likely to be put into use for sure. For sure. That's it for this week. Next week, we're going to take another time traveling journey. We've already looked at Disney in the 80s and Disney in the 90s. Well, this time we're going to venture back to the beginning of the millennium and, not the 1900s, of this millennium. And we're going to look back at Disney in the 2000s. So, there's lots of interesting stuff to explore here. And we all know Michelle she does the best research. So she'll have a lot of cool stuff to talk about that happened throughout 2000 to 2009, Disney related. There's a lot of interesting stuff out there. Stuff you may have forgotten that happened during that period, but it's all going to be a lot of fun for sure.
Yes, looking forward to it.
Yeah, so it should be a fun little walk down memory lane, and we hope you will join us for that. We appreciate that you join us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventurespodcast.com. And while you're there,
you can sign up for our newsletter.
Please sign up for the newsletter. As Michelle always says, we don't do anything with that email. We just use it to send the newsletter, and we do not jam your inbox. Once a week, usually comes out somewhere midday on Tuesday, maybe a day later if I've got stuff going on, but it's usually on Tuesday. And it just is another way to stay in the know in the Hyperion Adventures world.
Right. And we just love to share things with you.
Definitely. And that is a great way to do it. We also love to share things with you on social media. We are on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We do put these shows, most of them, out on YouTube. If you want to watch some of these episodes, we add a lot of pictures. Again, you can see how lovely Michelle is. You can see my really hippie, bushy hair that's going on right now happening as it grows out until I get my hair cut. I don't know when I'm going to do it again, but at some point I will. But you can enjoy the growth while it's happening. And if you want to find us on YouTube, just search Hyperion Adventures Podcast, hit subscribe, and you'll know whenever we have a new video. And if you ever want to connect with us for any reason, you can always hit us up on our Gmail account, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
Right. We do love hearing from you, and we do share back with you, respond back to you, and please, anytime you want to reach out to us, send us an email.
Yeah, we would love to hear from you very much. So thank you for listening to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures podcast. We look forward to sharing some time with you again next week. Until that time, I'm Tom.
I'm Michelle.
And we hope that you have a magical week.
Bye.